Hello makers and welcome to Spectiva Studios. It's really good to have you here. Now this week I want to work on a mixed media project that's going to use a little bit of pen and ink, and we're also going to talk about how to introduce some color into what we're doing. Now to begin with, what I'm working with here is a standard piece of 18-inch by 24-inch heavy-duty watercolor paper. You could use also something that's a little bit less texture, but this is really my go-to and I don't mind working with it. And what I've been thinking about is I want to be able to create some blocks of lines. Again, this is where we're going to be working on the pen and ink side of things. We're going to have some blocks that are going to be line-based. I'm going to kind of work my way down my sheet, as it were. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to kind of intermix the lines. So just something visually interesting. And then we'll add some color to it. We'll figure out how to get the color in here, and I'll show you a technique that we've talked about in the past on this channel that we can utilize here as well. So to begin with, what I really want to be able to do is kind of block out what I'm thinking about. And I'm thinking about some basic shapes, kind of rounded rectangles. And I'm going to start up here in the upper left-hand corner. And again, I'm just using a standard, this is just a mechanical pencil, and I want something with a fairly light lead because, again, any lines I put down I'm going to have to erase later. So I don't want to be able to dig too hard into here. So I'm going to just gently come in here, and again, I'm going to give myself a bit of a margin from the top and the side, and come in here, and I'm just going to say, okay, give me a round rectangle, roughly that shape and size. Hopefully you can see that, and if you can't, then that means I've done a pretty good job of making it so it's not going to be too hard to erase later. Now, what I'd like to do with this is have these shapes interact with one another. I'd like to have them so that they do intersect. So in this scenario, I'm going to come over here, and again, in kind of a similar way, I'm just going to come in here and create, again, the interaction between these two pieces. Let me do a third one over here. We'll kind of almost like chain them together. So again, I want to be able to utilize the space that I have to work with. That'll bring us to the center of our paper. Again, I'm keeping an eye on the margins over here. I don't want to get too close to that. And let's do the same thing with this. We're going to come down here and we'll create something like that. And I think in this case I'm going to, instead of looping back around, I'm going to come like here. And who knows, maybe we actually have a piece that goes down here. I'm going to think about that as I go through. Now, one of the things I want to be able to do with this, just to get a sense of how this is all going to happen, is I want to come into each one of these block areas that I've worked on, and I want to start adding lines. Now, this is simply all I'm going to do is just choose a direction and be able to say, okay, let's bring these lines across. If we want to do them horizontally, for example, that's an option. And with this one, I want the lines to go in a different direction. And again, they don't have to go the direction that this is tilting necessarily. But the objective is for that overlap area, I want that to be a little bit more of a crosshatch. Okay, so as the lines intersect, they're going to look kind of interesting there, and it's going to add some unique textures to what we're doing here. So that is the objective. So I have gone into my pens, and I have a black fine liner pen set. This is for needle drawing pens. And again, a needle drawing pen is just that. It is a thin. These go very, very, very thin. This goes down to half a millimeter, I think, or something. It's a super, super fine line. In this case, I want to do something that's a little bit more visible. So I've gone with, in this case, 5 millimeter to be able to work with here. And so, yeah, we're going to do that. So the objective right now is I'm going to turn my paper, just to make it easier for me to be able to draw this. And I'm going to come into this top line, and I'm just going to kind of grab this and bring my line across. And again, I'm just going to do kind of straight up and down here for at least my current perspective. And we'll just get some lines layered in. And again, there's no hurry to this. You can enjoy the zen of this while you're doing it. It may take a little bit of time. But again, getting something that's fairly precise in here, at least not messy, and keeping the lines sort of equidistant is going to be a key part of what's going to make this artwork work. Right? This is the kind of thing you put the TV on or your favorite recorded book or whatever you're working with, and just kind of go to town, let your brain go on autopilot. And the overall goal here is just to create this entire block, fill it up with the lines so that we're going to have something that we can work with in some of the other ways. All right? Now, instead of watching me draw lines, because, okay, what you've seen is what's going to be, let me do a couple of these and I'll show you what the intersection between each one of these is going to do and how we can take it from there. So I'll be back in just a moment and we'll pick it up right there. Welcome back. Now, as you can see, I've made some progress, and again, this didn't take a whole long time, but an opportunity again to just draw the lines through whatever shape, and we're following the same. And again, the intersections, those cross hatchings where they meet, that's really the interesting part, I believe, of this. It adds an additional layer of texture, but also we have this form and flow of these different objects as we go down. And again, I'm going to come down here. We may come down to the side here. Who knows? Maybe there's an opportunity to put something up here. I don't want to crowd things out just yet. I want to make sure I put things where I think they should go. And then we're going to talk about adding some color anyway. And I think we might add some color up here, maybe another block of color down here. And we'll take care of that. So I'm going to get back to cross-hatching, as it were, with my, my trusty pen here. But when we get back, I'm going to show you how we can add some color to this and really bring it to life. Okay, welcome back. Now, as you can see, we've finished all of the different blocks that we have in here. They're all running in slightly different angles, and we can see the cross-hatching is kind of interesting. So I like this, and I think it's a nice balance, but also I believe it's missing something. I think it needs a little something more to spark it and to make it a little bit more eye-catching. So to that point, I want to return to a piece of material I've been working on a little bit in the past, and that is colored acetate sheets. I have some red and I have some yellow here. And what I'm thinking I'd like to do here is to cut out a block that's roughly the same shape and size as the ones that I put in here in pen, and see how we might make that fit into what we're doing. So I'm going to just take a standard pair of scissors here. Let me just come in here, and I'm going to do my best to just kind of create just getting some cut some lines. This stuff's actually a little bit challenging to cut because it is so thin. So sometimes just having it down on a flat surface will make it work a little bit better. And I can start big and trim it down to a smaller size, which I think is what I'm going to end up doing. Okay, so move this out of the way. And again, it's a little bit bigger than I want, but I'm thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if we took this and incorporated it up here perhaps in this corner? So again, let me just grab this. I'm going to trim this down again. I want the edges to be somewhat smooth, like the blocks I put in here in pen. So I'm going to get rid of any of the sharp cut edges in here, and maybe put in a little irregularities in the side here. There we go. And let me clean up this bottom cut. It's a little rough in there as well. There we go. And again, I can trim that down further if I want to, but the good news is it's approximately the same size as these other things. And so now if I come in here and say, hey, if I were to extend the color out, again, we had this kind of blank corner. We have another one down here, which I think the yellow would fit into. That could be really, really cool. So I'm going to dry fit it for now. Let's come in here and do the same thing with the yellow. And once again, I'm just going to come in here and let me just grab kind of a section of this. And this is gossamer thin stuff, so it is more challenging to cut, simply just because it just moves around. There we go. And let me do the same thing that I did with that one. I'm going to come in here and let's create kind of a similar look and feel. And that's looking nice. Let me just finish off this side. And there we go. All right, get this out of the way. And let's just make sure we don't have any schmutz on here. That's a technical term, by the way. So I like that. That yellow looks good, and I think that red's going to look good as well. So again, this is how things can change. Now, I could just make it so that only one color hangs out here, which will certainly allow you to focus your attention there. It could be the yellow, or it could be the red. And this piece of red looks like it might be damaged, so I might want something that's a little smoother. But again, I could come up here and I could say, all right, this yellow is going to go right down here like this, the red could go right up there like that, and we'll create something. If I want to put a third color, maybe there's a sliver of blue or something else, I might be able to fit it in as well. Now, to affix these, let me show you how I'm going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be working with just a backing piece of pasting paper, copier paper, which I have here. And what I want to do is I want to be able to adhere this to my watercolor paper. Now, one of the challenges, if I went and used a glue stick, you're going to see the glue. If I use something like, an Elmer's or sort of white glue, that's not going to work either. However, I have a solution. Now, if you've seen in any of my previous videos, I found a product called Pixie Spray, which is a light tack repositionable adhesive for stencils. However, I find it works really well with the colored acetate sheets here. And the thing about this also, and I've run into some of these adhesives that actually will dissolve the acetate. No bueno, that's not what we want to be able to do. This one actually works out pretty well. So let me give it a quick shake, and I'm just gonna come over here, and actually let me move it in so you can see more of what I'm doing. There we go. And I'm just gonna give it a light spray. Again, I don't want to get this adhesive on everything, but let me get the edges at least. There we are. Now it comes out a little frosty. You can see it's probably frosted right up. Let me come in here, and if I peel this off, now when I come over here and I say, all right, let's put this piece right in here like this, and I press it down, all that adhesive becomes transparent, and it's really tight to the paper. And I love working with this stuff because it's so tight down on the paper. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's do the same thing with the red. I think once I get some adhesive on here, it should I'm gonna flip my sheet just so I don't accidentally stick to whatever adhesive might already be on here. That should be sufficient. Again, I'm gonna come in here and I'm laying it down gradually. Oh, there's something I'm seeing that I'm not happy about. There's a piece of hair in here, because that does happen. When you live with pets especially. There we go. Get out of here. You're not part of my creation. Just get that smooth best I can. Smooth to the edges. And again, I'm just using my finger almost like a burnishing tool to get everything and any bubbles that might be in there out of there. But there we are. So, hey, that's pretty cool. That is pretty darn cool. Now again, this started as a thought experiment, like most of my ideas. Like, what happens if we do this? Again, I kind of like the tumbling rocks here, if you will, and the addition of color really makes both of these sections really pop open, and of course I think it brings this whole piece to life. Now, I'm probably not going to throw this in the gallery. I'm going to use this as more of a testing or teaching tool for myself. I think there's some things I can do to improve this. Again, I want to share these ideas with you, hopefully inspire you to try doing some of these things yourself. And if you like what we did here today, we drop a video every single week exploring the development of abstract art. We look at different tools and materials for creating art, and a lot of great stuff. Yeah, Mixed Media Masters. It's a good place to hang out if you want to meet some other really interesting people who are doing some interesting things with their art as well. And we'd love to have you be part of our family, so feel free to hit that subscribe button. If you hit that like icon for us as well, it allows YouTube to share the information about what we're doing here with more people. We love when that happens. Anyway, that's what I have to share with you today. It's been my pleasure. I'm Spider. I'll talk to you real soon.